Well, 3D printing isn't necessarily new technology, but it is being tested in more and more fields, including in medicine.
Yeah, so interesting to see what they're able to do now. Printing fully functioning organs is now the goal, and a biotech company in Chicago is pretty close. It just printed human cardiac tissue. And joining us around the table to talk about it is, and the potential here, is Dr. Sabrina Fabi. Let's talk about what they did and how viable it actually is.
Right, and so this is the first company that has come out to actually tell us that they have viable tissue, cardiac tissue, which is really important because people sometimes need a heart transplant and it's very hard to get a match. And so what this company did is that they're essentially drawing people's blood, then they revert that blood into stem cells, and from those stem cells they make actual cardiac tissue. There's many different types of cells in cardiac tissue, and so they're able to make the various different cells to make a fully functional heart.
This is like mind-blowing to me as we watch video. This is actually from that company out of Chicago and how they do it. What is the potential and how far could they take? Like, why would you want to use, for example, this 3D printed tissue or an organ?
Right, well, in certain countries, like for instance Australia, there was a shortage in dermatology, in tissue to actually close up wounds, let's just say, for donor grafts, okay? And so there's another company that most recently actually came out of the University of Madrid where they created 3D printing for skin. So a laser scans the area, the depth of the wound after a massive burn, where it's very hard to transplant skin to cover a large surface area, which could potentially save the life of someone because they're losing so much fluid. And so they use a laser scan to go over that area, see the depth and the different planes where it may, be a little deeper than in another area, and then essentially use that to spray a bunch of cells that they have now created with their 3D printer and laid over the entire wound.
Let's talk about this is the exciting part, but let's talk about the downside, the potential risk here, and how realistic it is that and sometime soon we'll be using this regularly.
Right, and so right now the cardiac testing, the company that's based out of Chicago, they're going to be going into preclinical testing in just 6 months. But once we go into preclinical testing, you have to go into clinical testing and what that implies for a patient. What we don't know right now is how long can this tissue remain viable and how large can they actually get an organ to become. That's not quite clear right now, and so there's going to probably be a lot of rigorous testing that's going to be required for at least another 10 years. But I think it's more important to just know the promise that exists. People that are in liver failure, there's another company that most recently, here in San Diego, Organavo, paired up with L'Oreal to create bioprinting of liver cells. Wow. And so for people that go into liver failure, whether it's from hepatitis or whether it's from chronic alcohol disease, you can now recreate that tissue so that people don't need to shorten their life expectancy and they don't require transplants.
That's so great that it's happening in our backyard too here. Obviously San Diego, big biotech hub here for the industry. Dr. Fabi, always great to have you around the table. Thanks.
Nice seeing you guys.